I worked with a lot of people that I honestly have been trying to figure out what the fascination is, and it could just be that I can't. When I was growing up, I used to watch a show called Faces of Death. They'd put them out every now and then. Like a friend of mine got me into it, and he's like, "Hey, you want to come over? My brother rented Faces of Death. We can watch it." Well, the whole movie is about people that are getting killed, and he invited me over. I'd never heard of him, and we were watching it. He was getting really grossed out, and he goes, "You want to watch something else?" I go, "Look, we can watch something else if you want," but I go, "I'm fine with this." And then I kind of grossed him out. I'm like, "You got any snacks?" Because I could actually eat while watching that. But to be honest with you, I tried eating snacks during a Jackass movie. It was the one where they were drinking like horse spunk and that. I almost puked. So either I have extremely mellowed in my old age, or I can watch people die and it don't bother me, but watching people eat like horse crap, makes me nauseous. But it was one or the other. That's the first time I did not really put a big dent in my big bag of Twizzlers when I went to. I almost got sick during that movie. That was just disgusting. And but anyways, I watch these videos of these like anti-government nut jobs, and there's one of them. Uh, I haven't seen him in a while. He got arrested. He really hasn't done a whole lot since he got arrested, and I thought he was done. The way these guys usually end up, they either quit, they end up in jail, and I've actually or dead. That I don't know if that's really happened, but they're either going to get suicided by cop, they're going to go to jail, and then there's one guy that actually fled the country. And I like watching. Well, this one guy, his channel is called Breaking the. Ooh, and he got arrested. And to do the recap, I think the channel's called Masshole. Instead of being an asshole, you can be a masshole. That's the I didn't write it. I actually think they're funny, but they did a story on it, and yeah, they did the story, and they said, "Yeah, we haven't done one on this guy, so we're going to bring you up to speed." And when he got arrested, it was out Austin, Pennsylvania, somewhere in that area, and I think it was Pennsylvania, but the dude had a real bad Boston accent. And what these guys do is they think they can film everywhere. Some of them are learning, and some of them, uh, yeah, we've definitely been desensitizing to it. We there was something I was talking about. It was I wasn't the one. I was in it. I wasn't teaching it. I was in it. But somebody made a comment about the violence and stuff, and I just made the comment that well, we've got video games out there that are nothing more than murder simulators. I mean, uh, they had one. It was called. It didn't last long, but they had one called Going Postal, and the whole thing was a video game about postal employees flipping out and killing people, which was a real thing at one. And but the funny thing is, if you go to other countries that have the same video games and the same TV shows and movies we do, they don't have violence. So it's not just as simple as saying it's the video games. I mean, it really isn't. Um, because I love playing Minecraft. I have absolutely no earthly goal to go out and build a castle or something like that. I like playing the video game, but I have no earthly goal to play this out in real life. But the funny thing, I mean, I shouldn't say this. I don't know if funny is the right word. Shocking, and I think it's more a coping mechanism. There was a friend we were friends with in high school. Good guy. He's still alive. As far as I know, he's still with us, so I'm not going to mention names. If the right people say this, they'll know exactly who I'm talking about. There was a guy, I met him, I want to say junior year is when we met. What it was is his locker was right next to ours. There was about, I want to say there was about five of us. We all had lockers right next to each other. I knew a couple of them, And then, but we all became friends, and we kind of became friends because the one guy that we were friends with, it was one of the guys there. He kind of had a criminal element going back. If you've ever seen the movie Breakfast Club, he was kind of like Bender, uh, Judd Nelson's character. I think it was Bender. Uh, he was kind of like that guy without the attitude, without the toughness, without the street smarts. Um, I'm gonna probably have to kill this guy. But what he did was, it did not take him long, and what he did was he had everybody's locker combination. Uh, he waited until he, but he did. He hung around. There was a little bit of a criminal element to this guy. He hung around until he had everybody's locker combination. Then what he did is he gave it to everybody. So there were five of us that kind of became friends just because he was a thief. And he really wasn't a bad guy. Um, we played board games and other shit together, and every now and then he'd have to bring his brother. If there was anything wrong with him and his brother, I would say it was at least from the parents, if not the mother. She would make him bring his younger brother. This guy was like grade school, and we were all high school. And it wouldn't have been so bad, but he was just an annoying little prick. He really was. And the thing is, he was a good guy, but he would get annoying. And I wouldn't have let this, honest to God, I wouldn't have, I've let some horrible shit happen. I wouldn't have let this happen. But he went out drinking with a couple other friends of mine, and they were telling me about it. And none of us were of age back then. They all went out drinking, and he passed out in the car. He passed out in the car. And if what I don't even know if this is true. They told me, and I don't know if they were being honest or not. If it was a really fucking stupid thing to do. But I'm pretty sure there's lava gonna bust through if I pop that open. I'm gonna see if I can go a little bit. Yeah, this is about as far as I can go. I still haven't gotten any debris. I don't. This is probably not a good area anymore. But when I was doing these other tunnels, I was finding like 10 of them for every tunnel I dug. But he passed out in the car and started puking in the back of this guy's car. And either he was just dry heaving, he either dry heaved in the back of his car, or he puked into the back of the car and the car just absorbed it. Because they were positive he puked, or it ended up. Yeah, I guess he wasn't dry heaving. From what they said, he had puke all over him. He puked down his front. But if it landed in the carpet on the car, it just absorbed it because they couldn't find any trace of it in the carpet. You know, and what happened is the one guy grabbed him by the back of the coat and pulled him out of there. They didn't get anything in the car, and then they just left him there, and they went in. And it's been a while. Like I said, I would have probably been able to put a stop to this if I'd been there, unless I was passed out too. But they just basically threw him out in the yard on the sidewalk, and then they called the police and told him there was a drunk passed out. So he ended up getting the police taking him home, and that's pretty fucking shitty. That is just extremely fucking shitty. But they did it. And I don't know if they did. I don't doubt that they did, but to me that's an awful shitty thing. It really is. I am gonna need chest. And that he would have kind of been like that. That's just the type of guy he was. And then I heard about this years later. I mean, this made the paper, so I think this one was a little more accurate because somebody was telling me that somebody got arrested at the mall, our local mall. And I go, well, what's so bizarre about it? They go, well, he had a trench coat and a samurai sword. And what it was, he was basically role playing the Highlander TV show or the Highlander movie. apparently that's what he was doing. He was going around with a fucking samurai sword and a trench coat. And I'm like, that's just fucking bizarre. Well, when I read the article, I saw the name and I'm like, oh my God, we used to hang out with that guy, but he kind of went. And the last I knew, I think he was doing really good. He hit me up on Facebook a number of years ago. He's living in a different city, but I think he found a decent girl and things were good for him. I think he got away from his mom or his parents, got away from his brother, and it sounded like he was halfway normal. He found himself I mean, pictures they had, she looked pretty. I mean, she looked decent, and it sounds like she was a gamer chick. So he, he kind of outdid all of us by the sound of it. Well, I'm kind of glad for him if it worked out because, like I said, he really wasn't a bad guy. He was just a little bit of an odd duck, but what we're all odd to some extent. But yeah. Well, anyways, uh, this guy